Emunah is not something we're supposed to have. It's somewhere we're supposed to go. When we tell someone to have Emunah, what does that mean? They're in a state of stress, a state of anxiety. It's Sab Alechaim. Say, have Emunah. Obviously, they're overwhelmed with what's called the Mechin Dekatnus, a state of disconnected consciousness. So having is not enough. I have Emunah, I'm frum. Someone asks me, how are you? I say, Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. But life sends us challenges when we can't get to that knowing. We can't access that sense that HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world, that He's running this world right here, right now. That He's creating this nisayon, He's ma'ored this din, this challenge, this suffering, this pain, this confusion, these bilbulim. And therefore, it's not enough to have Emunah. Emunah is a verb. It involves moving towards the knowing. What Emunah is much more than something we call faith. As the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh says, it's a state. Emunah hi devekus. Emunah is a state of higher consciousness. Emunah is not faith. I'm telling myself it's all for the good, it's all for the best. Emunah is a state of consciousness from which I directly experience everything in real time, right here, right now, is good, is for the best, to the point of view, to the point of ad kidei kach. As in the Nesiv Shalom says, it steps out of Emunah of the moyach into the Emunah of the leiv, even Emunah of the evarim. I've discussed previously at Emunah Day. It's a state of consciousness by which I experienced, even in this nisayon, even in this choshech, the awe, the light turns on. I turn on the light in the darkness. It's a state of consciousness that allows me to do that, and having Emunah is really going to Emunah. It's going to Devekus. It's experiencing that. But the next level I want to discuss today, which is so key in our own avodas hakodesh of moving constantly towards Emunah, is to understand Emunah is not just a survival technique of something we access when facing challenge. Emunah is a creative act. Emunah is the ultimate act of personal transformation. Emunah is a prompt into a revelation of self that until this point you had not accessed, and if it accessed it once, you certainly had not integrated it. This is what's called, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov talks about a bechina, an idea called Dina Kedisha. What it's suffering and challenge, but it's coming from a holy source and it's there to elevate us and purify us. Es asher yahav Hashem yachiach. That those that Hashem loves, He rebukes. He rebukes us. Rebukes is such an art school word, it's the kind of word I try and avoid using. He evolves us is what He does. He pushes our boundaries so we will expand our gavul of Kedusha, we will extend ourselves and transform ourselves. When Hashem created the world, there was a kavanah. What is the tachlis achayim? What is the meaning of life? The meaning of life is that we will build ourselves with Emunah. The ultimate creative act is Emunah. The word Emunah, Aleph Mem Nun, Uman, literally means a craftsman, a craftswoman, someone who's a creator. The word itself means to create, to craft, to generate, to form, to structure, to build. And all of reality, when it was Oila, when it went up in the mind of Hashem to create the world, was to create moments of Emunah. What does it mean, moments of Emunah? You see, we try and go through life. I'm hoping I can do some therapy. I'm hoping I can do some retreat somewhere. I can work through my junk, get over my blocks. Hoping my kids will get over their blocks before they get married so they can live happily ever after. So I can live happily ever after. If I'm really firm, I want to do mitzvahs and live happily ever after. And lo and behold, spoiler alert, as they say, it just keeps coming. The challenges keep coming, and you're really convinced you overcame, you learned that lesson, and here it comes again, here it comes again, here it comes again. Why did Hashem create the world? It's very, very pashut. There's all these ideas that we have, teva hatav lahativ, because the nature of something that is good wants to do good. Hashem is good. His midah is chesed. Olam chesed yabana. He wanted to do chesed, give to another. Another reason we hear that Hashem created the world, because he wants to dwell in the lower worlds. Why does an infinite being want to be constricted and live in the lower worlds? Is he so lonely, is so bored? He wants Kiddush Hashem. He wants to be acknowledged by the people in the lower world. The Vilna Gaon says the Tachlis Achayim is to metaken our midas. So the meaning of life is teva tav lahativ. Hashem wants to give, but it's really not because he wants to give. It's really to have a dwelling place below. No, it's really that so we can metaken our midas. Chaim Vital, the Hagdama to Shavei Kedusha, says more important than all of the Torah mitzvahs is tikkun midas. Because when a person has a leiv shalom, they have a heart through which they will do the mitzvahs. They won't do what they don't have to do. They will draw down what they can draw down. But until we mataken our leiv, we don't have a heart. We will be constantly self-sabotaging in our lives. So the bekitzer l'maisa of why Hashem created the world and how to understand all these different things. What's the sada shava b'neihem? What do they all have in common together? Here's the meaning of life. Chazara, let's go. Hashem, for whatever reason, wanted to give good to another. What's the ultimate good Hashem could give to another? There's no presents, there's no gifts, there's no cars, there's no iPhones. What's Hashem going to give? Remember, there's not even us, there's not even a world yet. Himself. What does that mean, himself? Does he take off a chelik and give it? Good yontif. It doesn't mean he gives himself. It means he gives another an experience of himself. How do you give another an experience of yourself? The answer is you create the lava, that's much what it is, the other, in the image of yourself. And this is a very deep Torah, and obviously I'm saying very, very deep things in such a fast way. It's kind of ridiculous, but there's a single nakuda I want to get from this process. To remember, to remind us below what we're doing tonight when we come home, when after a day of Emunah, there's so much chizuk and so much strength, and then I'm hit in the face with that challenge, with that pain, with that anger, with the frustration. What are we doing? Hashem wanted to create an other in his image. Because if we were like Hashem, then we would have an experience of being like Hashem. And that which is similar in the spiritual worlds are considered bound and one. And that which is different, Ra and Tav, are the opposite ends of the world. But something which is divine is, so to speak, has a connection because it's miyached with its source. It's similar to its source. It's doimet to its source. Hashem at this moment said, okay, I want to give good to another. And because I want to give good to another, the way I give good, I give them an experience of me because I'm the highest good and high experience in the world. I'm going to give them experience of me by making them like me. And Hashem said, okay, just as I have chachma, they will have chachma. Just as I have bina, just as I have wisdom, they will have wisdom. Just as I have understanding, they'll have understanding. Just as I will have das, they'll have das. Just as I have infinite love, they'll have infinite love. Just as I have barriers and the will of gevurah, of strength, they will have strength, etc., etc. But then Hashem, if you allow me to say these words, kiviyachal, Hashem hit a brick wall. He hit a snag at his plan. That if Hashem were to make you literally like him, then you would be completely the opposite of him. Yes, I understand that's a massive contradiction of terms. But this is the truth on which all of our challenges are founded. If Hashem would have made you exactly like him, with all the properties, you would have been the opposite of him. How so? Because if Hashem gave you wisdom, and Hashem gave you love, and Hashem gave you strength, you at that moment are created and not a creator of wisdom, a creator of love, a creator of strength. What is the source of Hashem's love? Only himself. It is sourced and generated from himself. What is the source, if we can say such things, of Hashem's wisdom? Only from himself. It is generated, self-determined from himself. So the second that he would give you the capacity to love, you had not acquired that love. You had not generated and created that love. You had only received that love. And therefore you are a makabbal and not a mashpia. And at that moment, you would not be like Hashem. You would be the polar opposite of Hashem. So Hashem realized that the only way to give someone else the ultimate experience of Hashem was to give them a dual nature. The esespheres of the nefesh elokis, of the divine soul, which is literally the energy of all the aspects, all the dimensions of the divine being, and a fallen version called the nefesh Bahamas, which is a fallen version of wisdom and a fallen version of love. I'm loving the wrong things. I'm pursuing the wrong loves. I'm getting caught in destructive loves, destructive desires. And rather than having awe, and rather than having power and strength and holy fear, my fear collapses and I am afraid of the wrong things, and my fear becomes the most self-sabotaging part of my consciousness. And Hashem gave us a fallen version. And the plan is, through sending us challenges in life, when I am fearing the wrong things rather than fearing Hashem, then that fear generates a reality around me where the wrong things will come to me. They'll trigger that fear so that I will have Emunah. And what is the definition of Emunah in that context? So that I will reach up to my divine self, my divine nature, and reconstruct that fear willfully, consciously. Do what's called a birur, tikkun amidas. And therefore, I am out with the destructive nature of fear. I'm out with the destructive loves. And I own and acquire my true love. I'm out with the destructive fears, the destructive ego. And I own and acquire my true fears and a healthy ego, and healthy wisdom and true knowledge and true understanding. Does everyone understand a little what I'm saying so far? So the meaning of life, if you will, is to make ourselves B'Tselem Elokim. And I know this is obvious stuff. I haven't said anything interesting, but I'm leading towards something if you'll come with me on the journey for a few more minutes. The meaning of life is Emunah. Chazal, the Gemara already says, if you boil down all Tariag mitzvahs to one mitzvah, what's that one mitzvah? That tzaddik lives for his Emunah, with his Emunah. And that's a very deep thing, because what is a tzaddik? I'm going to build something, so you have to take the pieces. We're building a magnificent rocket ship with a lot of Lego. So here are the pieces, and we're going to assemble them together. What is it, tzaddik? A tzaddik means a master, a perfect being. But it comes from the Lashon tzedek, which means aligned. Rabbi Nachman quotes Chazal and said, when a person wants to be matzik themselves below, when we want to align ourselves, create ourselves in the image of Hashem, because of that, Hashem above throws at us challenges. Because he loves us. And love, everyone knows, love comes to the root, have, sharish, to give. He wants to give to us. What does he want to give to us? He wants to give to us the Tselem Elokim. But to be the Tselem Elokim, you have to be like him. And therefore, he has to draw out that within you which is not like him, which is fallen. So you will elevate it, so you will align, so you can return to receiving him. And that's what it means, a diva b'tachtoinim. Hashem doesn't want a dwelling place in the lower world. Hashem doesn't care so much for this world in that sense. What does Hashem care if you metak in your midas? He's an infinite being. You'd think he's got better things to think about. And the miracle is that when we metak in our midas, the midas of the heart, the midas of the mind, then we create a diva b'tachtonim, because Hashem can now live in our animal self. Hashem can now take the fallen fear and make it an elevated fear, the fallen love, the elevated love, the fallen ego, the elevated ego, and we are giving him a dwelling place. We are giving him an expression. We are giving him a kiddush Hashem, a manifestation, a revelation of the mystical writings. That's what's called malchus. Manifestation, revelation. Even all the way down. Why does Hashem care about that? Because he wants us to metak in our midas. Why does he want us to metak in our midas? So we become B'Tselem Elokim. We become tzedek, aligned. And when he is expressed in the lower world, the implication of that is he's revealed in the lower world, because we are aligned and perfected ourselves to become in his image, to become a tzedek, a tzinu, a channel to reveal him in the world. A channel of shefa, of chiyas, of bracha. Thus fulfilling the plan that we have perfected ourselves and we have perfected the world, and this hashras shechina, then he can come and dwell within us. Dwelling within us means we have now ultimately perfected and reflected his true being, our true nature, thus aligning with him, thus returning to our source. And the reason I'm telling you that and reminding us all that together is the following reason, my friends. Because that action of change is the action of Emunah. That action of creation is the action of Emunah. Emunah does not mean how we deal with bad times. The bad times are there as the window of opportunity to become divine and to become in the image of God. And if you take that further, if you understand what the bad times, what that hard challenge, what that painful thing is that happens and always happens to you, if you understand the nakuda within you, it is trying to draw out, it is trying to mitaken, it is trying to elevate, it's Hashem is mislabish, he's got the glove on, his hand is reaching through the physical world, creating that pain, that suffering, that challenge, that terrible boss, that abusive friend, that hurt child, God forbid. He's doing all of that to awaken our point of resistance, to awaken, because he knows, they used to say in the horror movies, it knows what scares you. Hashem knows what scares us. And he wants to heal us of our fear. And the only way you get healed of anything is by bringing it to consciousness. You have to understand that as the most fundamental rule of life, of reality, of meditation, of avodas Hashem, whatever term you want to call it. Only when your fear, your doubt, your lust, your ego hits your das can it be transmuted. That's the cool modern term that I heard, that fits very well with the Baal Shem Tov's term, oile v'nichlau. It's only when you confront your fear with your consciousness that you can release that fear forever. Of course, we don't want to face challenge. We don't want to face suffering. We don't want to face darkness, and we avoid it at all cost. And when it comes, we blame the boss, or we blame the spouse, or we blame the kids, or we blame the doctors, or we blame Trump. Baruch Hashem, we have Trump, so we have something to blame everything on. It's not true we had Obama before Trump. Baruch Hashem, there's always someone, isn't it? The Sfirma Kadoshim say, if you want to stop your suffering, stop looking out at what's causing it and start realizing that it is there to turn you into a divine being by pinpointing to you exactly what most needs to be healed. And if you want to make the darkness vanish, then what you have to do is find the point that Hashem is speaking to and asking you to address. And through bringing that to consciousness is how we align ourselves, how we elevate ourselves, how we create ourselves in the image of God. And therefore, Emunah is what exists on the battle line, on the threshold between darkness and light. Emunah is how we push the line forward to take back the kingdom to the Malchus of Hashem. It's how we confront exactly, look at your challenge. You want to know where your nefesh elokis, your divine soul, ends, and your body and your nefesh Bahamas begins. Look exactly where your challenges are. Look at it exactly what knocks you out of das and devekas on a daily level, and there you'll see the tachlis of Chaim, the purpose of life. I want to tell you a story. It's a personal story. It's tremendously embarrassing. I have no idea why I'm going to do this. I have an inner voice that says, it's not too late. You can go in another direction. Yetzer Tov, Yetzer Hara. Let's take a quick vote. What do we say? We have a similar story. I'm counting on it. I'm just setting up mine so you'll get to yours. Okay, Ma'aseh Shahaya. I already regret it. Not so long ago, only a few months, I was teaching a class at night. We have an online program I teach sometimes very late at night, American time. I hadn't davened Maariv. Finished the class around 11:30. Took some final questions from the audience. Logged offline. Quickly went to daven Maariv. Turned on my phone. Bad thing to do. There's a certain woman, a holy neshama, she's going through a terrible divorce, awful husband, and trying to bring in Rabbanim and Gedolim, and it's a big balagan, and she's absolutely shattered, and it sounds like she's beyond shattered, and I'm like, I'm going to daven Maariv, and then I'll answer it, and then of course she rings, and then we get corner conversation. Echveis, by the time we're done, it's 12:30. There's no minyan left. There's a beautiful midrash that says if a person can't daven in a minyan, the next best place to daven is a forest. It's already chazal. You don't need to be Breslev. Helps, but you don't need to be. So I wonder, and Baruch Hashem, I live on a street right next to a forest. And I walk outside, as by the time I get out there, it's now 1:45, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. And of course the forest is completely empty. And it's the middle of the night, and the moon's out, and it's really, really beautiful there. And the forest has a magic to it. The Shoma Kedushim say a person should go out to the forest, they should go at night, they should go daven in a place where not only there isn't anyone, but there never was anyone, because the purity, the pristineness of consciousness is very powerful there. So I'm wandering through the forest trying to find a place, and I come across this big, beautiful clearing. There's an old broken chair in the middle of the clearing. There's all these breast lovers that do his Buddhas in the forest. And it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and Mamash, I'm the only person there, and my heart is just so open. It was a beautiful class, and when you're teaching a class, you feel it's not coming from you, it's coming through you, and the Torah is there, so it's all spinning in my head. And I stand in this beautiful field, in this beautiful clearing, and the trees are around me, and I just start praying Mav, and it's very beautiful, it's very open. Sometimes you have to do work, and it was just there, and it was there, and connecting to the ground, and connecting to the earth, and the trees. It's beautiful. I'm flying. It's wonderful. I'm flying. I'm going to wait till 1 o'clock every morning in daven here. So finally, it comes time for the Shemona Esrei. So I stand up, straighten my jacket, 3 steps back, 3 steps forward, and I start going. And my neshama opens. Gavaldik, Kodesh, Kodashim, amazing, amazing, amazing. And suddenly I hear these footsteps in the forest. So of course, I'm a holy Yid, I ignore it, and I keep davening. And the footsteps are getting closer. And then your imagination starts going, it's not such a safe country to live in, it's not safe a safe city, they're all coming to get me. No, I'm fine. So now you know that level where you're still davening with Kavanah, but you're thinking about, am I davening with Kavanah? Which means you're not actually davening with Kavanah. Beinenu. So I feel the energy and I'm still going for it, but the whole time I'm going, look, I'm still going, I'm saying the words. Are they coming towards me? No, it's fine. So they're walking, and it sounds in my ears like they're not walking past, they're really walking towards my wife. Is there emergency? I don't think my wife is coming in the forest to find me in the middle of the night. And then finally I feel them getting very, very close. So, Chazal, there's already halach about this. You just don't open your eyes. You stay in Kavanah. But what can I tell you? Another proof that I'm not perfect. So as they're getting close, I feel like they stop right in front of me. About here, let's say. And I don't know what's happening, so I open my eyes and I look. You're going to think I'm making this up. A Hasidic man stands in front of me. He looks at me very angrily. He says in Hebrew, "You're standing in my makam." It's so rude of you to laugh at me in my moment of despair. And I'm just like, I've been through Shulchan Aruch. There is no din of a makam kavua in a forest. So I go to respond to him, and then I think, Hashem is awesome. I can't respond to him. So I tell him to get lost in a fum way, which looks like this. So I've decided I'm going to go back to have tremendous kavanah and completely ignore his ludicrousness. But of course, the whole time I'm thinking, what kind of idiot tries to claim a makam kavua in a forest? And I've got all these great, funny lines to say to him to feel much better about my own invaded ego, right? But of course, I can't say anything, so I'm just literally doing this. And he's not going anywhere. And he starts yelling at me in Hebrew at 1:15 in the forest in the middle of the night. And it occurs to me that the chair I'm probably standing next to, which I promise you is unsittable honorable, it is broken, there's no base, there's no top. It occurs to me like this is his Dalit Amos of reality, and his life is, so he really starts yelling at me. I think he thought I was doing his Buddhist, therefore I was ignoring him. I don't think he realized I was doing Shemona Esrei. And I'm starting to get upset without realizing I'm getting upset because I'm so holy, I'm just going to daven through it. But you can't really daven through someone yelling at you. And then I stop myself and I realize what's happening. He's not going away and I can't do this. And I open my eyes and look at him and there's nothing I can say to him. So I close my eyes to pray and I can't pray. And then what do? You can't walk away. You have to stay in the same place when you're davening Shemona Esrei. So lucky for me, I'd heard this class before I gave it to you. Rabbi Nachman talks about this, and the Baal Shem Tov talks about this, and all of Chazal and all the Tzaddikim and all of Kabbalah talks about this. When somebody comes and attacks you, there's a reason they're coming to attack you. And it's not because they're trying to claim their space. It's because everything is Hashem, ein ad milvado. And therefore, if there's nothing else but Hashem, then this person's also Hashem. And stop saying, what does this person want from me? Because that's the voice you have. What does this person want from me? Person is a nicer word than you may choose to use. But then you have to ask a deeper question. Now we're on the threshold of reality. Now we're on the threshold of creation, a creative act. Emunah. Now I want to be a craftsperson. If I say, the reality is at Simsum, Kipashuto, and this is a place without Hashem, and the reason this guy here is just because he's an idiot, and he's an idiot, and all his Hasidus are idiots, and everyone around him is an idiot, and everyone but me is an idiot, that is one excellent hashkaf, and good luck with that when you try it. Alternatively, the act, the avodah of Emunah, I jokingly call chefsa gava. You have to move from the object, you idiot, the object of my desire that I'm lusting after, and you have to move back to the gava. If that man and the tree and the grass are all created by Hashem, and his yell is created by the Hashem, and the ludicrousness of this situation is created by Hashem, Hashem must be trying to show me something about myself. And if I'm so holy and I'm so in Dveikus, why aren't I in and able to access Dveikus now? When I work with people, when we teach seminars and retreats, there's always an action we use when you want to help people. Every yid at all times should be able to access Dveikus. And if you can't access a higher state of transcendent consciousness now, it's because there's something real time in your way as a block right now. And if you can address what that is, then the person falls back, is released and healed. And that's where they live. That's where we're supposed to live. So at that moment, I checked my body, and there was so much tension. Now, you say, of course you're tension, because you're planning to pray, and this guy's being an idiot. But that the game of calling someone an idiot is the game of apicorsis. What is in my chest? I closed my eyes, I went into Dveikus. Something I know how to do, something I learned from the Swarm, it's something we teach, and everyone can do that. And I said, Hashem, what is going on here? Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this opportunity to become aware of myself. Thank you for sending the shliach of you. And this story is not to show you how holy I am, because this story is about to get even more stupid and even more ridiculous. I said, why is this happening to me? And then I said the famous, incredibly deep words, why does this always happen to me? I got some stories to tell you. And what's so deep about the story I'm going to tell you is you're not going to believe it's true, because you're going to think I'm going to make this up so many times it can't be true. The fact that it A, is true, and B, did not occur to me what was happening for years is exactly why this guy needed to yell at me at a forest at 1:50 in the morning. 6 months before, no, about a year before, I was in shul on Friday night. My kids went with me this time, Baruch Hashem. I walked into shul before mincha. The shul's about half, 3/4 full. I sat at the front right table where I always sit. And a few times when I'm not, when I come late, another young lad sits there, but he wasn't there, and I was here one time, and I sat down. And at the end of this row, 4 empty seats, there's a very old, angry man who's very known for being old and angry. There's one at every shul. You know yours, I know mine. And we're sitting there. I open up my siddur. I'm doing my avodah. And the guy turns to me in Hebrew and says, you're sitting in someone else's chair. And I said, I've been sitting here for 2 years. And then he stands up in front of the whole shul and starts screaming at me in American Hebrew, which is just the worst. Who am I to think that I can take the seat of this other young man who sits there? Scout's honor. I was there 5 years before him, 3 years before him, right? And the guy starts yelling at me. And I've read this Chassidus a lot. I know what Rabbi Nachman says about the Baal Shem Tov, about doim LaHashem, stay quiet, don't respond, stay dark, don't respond. And I mamish held it. He started screaming and yelling in front of the shul. Nobody did anything. And he starts going at me and going at me and going at me. And I'm just like, I'm going to hold it until he finally, I don't respond. Kol hakavod to me. He finally sits down. I'm holding it in. And he sits down. And I'm like, we're done. And he said, why are you ignoring me in English? And I'm like, don't respond. And then he starts yelling at me again and again. And I just said to him, I'm not stealing anyone's seat. I was in a very calm, respectful way. And then he stood up and started screaming again. And I was like, Hashem, I did what I have to do, and I'm leaving. And I walked out. I want to tell you another story. And these are going to get stupider and stupider. There's a big tzaddik called Tzvi Meir Zilberberg, and I was zoicha for 10 years to daven with the tzaddik in the shul. Amazing tzaddik, amazing tefillah, l'malamina, everything, mamash, what can I tell you? And as a young Baal Tshuva, it was tremendous chus to have a makom kavua, mamash in his place. The front place, right on the side next to the Aron HaKodesh, that was my place. I like facing the wall. I didn't have to focus on anything but Hashem. Very energetically sensitive, so just the wall is my best place to be, and I'm excited. And I was there every Shabbos, three tefillahs every Shabbos, mamish for years and years. Unbelievable. Now, there's some very frum yid in the shul, and there's a couple people that are so frum that they're no longer frum, if you know what I mean. One day, there's a guy who's so frum that he's no longer frum. He takes on a chum. I'm not judging everyone. Some holy Yidden do not hold by using the electricity in Eretz Yisrael. Because you could say, we're not going into the halachas or the chumah, you could say that there's non-Jews, there are Jews there that are mechal Shabbos to keep electricity running and they don't want to take advantage of them. Okay, that's fine. This Yid decided that he wants to take that on, but not for himself, but for lots of other people too. So he decided that he started with himself. This is a shaila. If you hold his shita, what do you do when you daven in a shul where they use the electricity from the city, but he doesn't use electricity? So apparently, he went and asked a shaila, and the teretz was, you can get a battery light and put it on the ceiling above where he stands, which means that even if the lights were to go out in the building, theoretically, this light would still be enough for him to read above. So even though the light is on in the room from the electricity company, it's ke'ilu he's not using that light because he's relying on the light above him. You got that? He needed a place to put that light. You'll never guess where he put it. 10 years in, I walk into my back office here, there's the tzaddik, I say, good job, so I walk and sit down, and the guy gets down from the chair with a hammer, and he says, don't sit there, I'm sitting there now, that's my light. And I'm like, what do you mean, that's my light? I looked at the tzaddik and said, that's my light. He wasn't really impressed with my joke, okay? Even the tzaddik came up to him, the tzaddik is so, he doesn't have any gavur with him, he looked at the guy like, give this kid a break. And the guy was like, no, which shows you how l'shem shemayim he was. I lost my makam. I have another story to tell you, and this is the most ridiculous. 8 months ago, I went to the mikveh. In the changing room, I sit down. It's there at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's completely empty. You'll never guess where this is going. I sit down, I hang my coat up, I sit on the chair, I take off my shoes. A guy walks in and says, that's my makam. Scout's honor. And you just like think the whole world is crazy but me. I'm looking about, it's completely empty. And you'll never guess what I thought. There's no din of makam kavua in a mikveh. There's just, ein davar kazeh. And I was like, this is a joke, right? Do you have candid camera in the film world? I don't know whether they... And I'm looking at, and like, really, I swear there's no, I said, this is fine. And he said, and he got very angry at me. So I did this whole thing. I picked up my coat, and I picked up my shoes, and I picked up my towel, and I moved like here, and then I put it all down again. I thought that was a very funny thing to do. and he literally sat next to me. Now, is it just me, or is there a pattern going on here? I'm a bit spiritually numb. I'm wondering whether you have the sensitivity. Now, this is true. The pattern never occurred to me. The pattern never occurred to me until I was standing in the forest of the middle of the night, and this idiot comes over to me to claim the Dalai Lamas of the forest. And I'm just furious. And I'm not just furious, I'm bitter. Why does this always happen to me? And we ask that question as victims. We ask that question as victims from victim consciousness. Everybody does bad things to me and I always get hurt. Victim consciousness is mamish apocorsis. It's mamish apocorsis. We are made b'tselem Elokim. You want to know what the opposite of Emunah is? The opposite of Emunah is victim consciousness. The biggest enemy to Devekus, the biggest enemy to Emunah, the biggest enemy to mechazik yourself at a time of Nisayon, of Choshech, and be mahapach the Choshech to Or, is mamish victim consciousness. Victim consciousness when you look up and go, oh no, it happens to me because I'm broken, because I'm stupid, because I'm bad, because I'm dumb, because I'm guilty. And it locks us into a place of inability, of inadequacy. And if our midas are more from the midas of Netzach, that makes us furious and angry and we lash out. And if we're more from the midah of Hoid, then we pull back and we collapse into ourselves. Many times I meet women, especially, who have collapsed into themselves. Shvira Sekela Mamish, there's no self left. Emunah is the opposite of victim mentality. A victim mentality says, I am as I am and I'm stuck because of what they all do to me. And if you want to know what it means to be B'Tselem Elokim, Elokim is the power of creativity, of proactivity. Bereishis bara Elokim. Hashem created the Bria with the Bechina of Elokim. Elokim is Bala Koiches Kulam. What does it mean, Baal koiches? It means I am the Baal of my koiches. I am the master over my fear. I am the master over my doubt. I am the master over my panic. The koiches nefesh. Because I have Emunah. I am an uman. I am a craftsman. And if I'm overwhelmed by the situation, I have the ability to take control of my fear, to transform it to divine awe. I have the control to take the power. I'm the Balakoiches Kulam. I'm in charge and the master of all these abilities because Hashem created the world so that I would. And He woken that fear within me, that pain within me, that lust within me, that anger within me, that ego within me, so that I would become a Balkoiches. I would become a master of them and transform them and elevate them and heal them and align myself. And step into the purpose of reality, to give nachas ruach to Hashem. What does it mean, give nachas ruach to Hashem? You know, sometimes in Kiev you hear this line, there's nothing you can give Hashem. It's not true. You give Him nachas. What does it mean to give nachas? What gives you the ultimate joy? Manifestation is the ultimate pleasure. There's no greater pleasure than potential being born into full reality. When you have a dream and that dream is manifest, nachas, we get simcha and nachas from a bar mitzvah, from a chasana. Simcha is Chazal say there's 10 terms of gilarina, ditza, chedva, of joy, of pleasure. And the final one is simcha, it's the ultimate revelation. There's no greater pleasure than full manifestation of revelation, than living up to your potential. If Hashem created the world, that you would be in His image, so that you and He could be like and one and the same, that He could give to you, by you creating yourself, self-created in the image of Chachma, Bina, Das, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchus, then the greatest nachas you Hashem is when you become the divine being He created you to be. You give nachas to Hashem when you fulfill the tafkid of the Bria. his very first thought of what he wanted to create, when you allow him to Mekayim that initial Ratzon, you close the circle and fulfill his purpose reality, thus giving him nachas. But the baseline to give him nachas is what's called malaman. It's arusa dilatata. It's that you are capable, that you are resourceful, that you are able. You are not a victim, you are not stuck, you are not alone, you are not abandoned, you are not broken. It always happens to me. You know, the implication of the line, why does it always happen to me, is that I am stuck and helpless and it's happening to me. And the answer is so that you will own it, you will transform it, and you will become something greater than it. And if you fall back into victimhood, then you are undermining Hashem's whole purpose in creating you. That he believes that you have the capacity to face the darkness without, by confronting what is awakening within, by turning that back to the light, and thus becoming divine. So rule number one, to activate Emunah is not something you have, it's that which you activate and go to. You need to believe that you have the capacity to be greater than the challenge, to be greater than the darkness. And we know that from the axiom that Hashem never gives you a challenge you don't have the strength and ability to overcome, because that would deceive the purpose of creation. So now's the embarrassing part. It's the middle of the night, it's 1:15, I'm in the forest. What is this guy awakening within me? I can't believe it never occurred to me that I keep getting kicked out of my quote-unquote place. And I'm being real with you because this is a great way for an educator to open up people to be real with themselves. I realize that I never feel that I have a place. I mean, all Baalei Tshuva never feel like they have a place, really. How frum do you have to be to be accepted? And how normal do you have to be? And what clothes do you have to wear? And how much of Shas do you have to know? And you can makar 5 million people, but is it enough? Are your kids accepted? Are you accepted? And any Baalei Tshuva that says the issue started when they got frum is really deeply, deeply in denial. How much have I ever felt that I don't quite belong and I don't quite connect? And do I really trust my friendships? Do I really trust my relationships? And how many times am I trying to hold on too tight because I feel that if I don't, I will lose and I'll be abandoned and alone? And how long has that voice lived within me? And at that moment in the forest at 1:50 in the morning, first of all, it's just staggering to have all those stories and never put them together. And it's more staggering to have all those stories and never put them together and realize, look at this thing I've been carrying all my life, and I was never conscious of it. It is amazing how many times when you're a rabbi, when you're a rebbetzin, people come to you with their problems day and night, and it's always the same thing. It's the same thing 1,000 times over. You say, did you ever realize this? And they go, oh my gosh, I never realized. Rabbi, how do you know that's so supernatural? It's not supernatural. It's the same thing over and over again. We are just blinded to what is in front of us, to what is within us. And therefore Hashem needs to keep those things happening. Keep the same challenges up, just in different images, different styles, but it's the same thing over and over again, so we will have the strength to stop looking on the outside, to start looking to the inside, and ask the $1 million question. This is happening as a gift. It's not happening to me, it's happening for me. Because something within the Chabad, Chagat, Nahim, within my emotions, within my beliefs, is out of alignment. And Hashem is the divine chiropractor in the sky. He's giving us that click to knock us back into the bechinas of tzaddik. So we'll live up to bechinas of va'amech kulam tzaddikim. We will all be matchstick, we will all be aligned. Do you hear what I'm saying? So there I am at 1:15, the first, the middle of the night, and then I'm confronted by, oh my gosh, I see myself as a loner because I've been pushed out so many times. But am I pushed out because I'm pushed out? Am I pushed out because I throw myself out? Do I have this fear of abandonment? Is it true that I'm so different, I'm so unique or gifted or pathetic or low or however you want to frame it on any given day that I can't find that in? And I find this pit of despair. That it's so hardwired into me, I can't even ever see how to get out of it. That is the moment that Hashem created the world for. To do tikkun olam, right? We all know this word tikkun olam. It means planting trees in Israel or something. You've heard me say this 1,000 times. There's an olam gadol, there's an olam katan. There's a world, the world is olam lashon ne'alim, hidden. What's the definition of the world? It's a place where Hashem is concealed, where we don't see him. What is our goal? To mekadesh Hashem, to bring him in, to reveal him, to manifest him. Hashem is hidden in the world, and therefore we reveal him in the world. But we are an olam katan. We are a small universe. We are a small hiddenness. What is keeping Hashem out? What is keeping our nefesh elokis out? It's this utter fear. I'm holy, I'm religious, I'm stark, I love mitzvahs, I teach people, I'm into devekas, and I know how to matakan my midas, but you can't matakan something you're not conscious of. So Hashem has to do the gift by bringing us the challenge to become conscious so I can transmute it, return it, be oil of nichlal, return it back and unite it with its source. So there's this little tzimtzum, there's this little oilam, bechinas ne'elem within me. And I'm just like, oi, KABBALAH. And there's techniques that the Baal Shem Tov teaches of what to do in that moment, so you do them. And I felt such light, and such healing, and such release. Until I was flooded in such a deep, profound way that what I thought with Devekas before was so external to this feeling of light and energy in my body and my being. And at that moment, I realized something, that the guy had stopped speaking. And at that moment as I broke through, literally, as I'm expanded with light, the guy stops yelling and just walks away. So I sit there and go, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. I can't wait to teach this at Emunah Day. And just as my gaiva is kicking in, the guy starts walking back. And when he gets back to me, he picks up his chair and then walks away again. When you find the nakuda of Emunah, the Emunah point, the threshold of the battle within you, of being Mekadesh Shem Shemayim, to turn the choshech back to or, to turn the concealment back to revelation, to turn the behema back to an Adam, the Aleph and the Kiseh, to make a makava out of the fear, to turn it back to awe. And in that moment, Ashrenu, we become a little more divine. And that's permanent. That's a permanent transformation in our lives and in our hearts and in our being. And then Hashem doesn't need to make that challenge come again, because we've learned that lesson now. It doesn't mean that's the end of the game. It means we go to the next level. But what a relief that we go to the next level. Does everyone hear the teaching? Does anyone have any questions? Can we ask questions on Emunah Day? We do that here? Yes. No, really? I just thought it was me. Well, let her, she heard, yes. The similar thing has happened to her, but I can't get the answer to the question. One of my hands up if something's happened to you, but you just can't crack that code. Well, I'm better than you are, aren't I? Okay, that's the end of the session. I just wanted to walk away without a feeling of superiority. My Emunah is strengthened through this day. So we're going to talk about how you get the answer. And the punchline of getting the answer. Sorry, Everton, you're in charge here. You said? Yes? She has, okay. Who does she think she is? Like, well, one second. She certainly earned it. You certainly earned it. Imagine your son, your daughter comes home and says, Mom, I was on the radio tonight. Did you hear me? And you say, I was in the kitchen all night, but I didn't hear it at all. Mom, did you turn on the radio? No. Emunah, according to the Baal Shem Tov, as we've said, is Dveikus. Dveikus is a state of receptivity. The reason I told you that story, besides to embarrass myself in public, is because I wanted to show the mechanism and how it works in real time. You can't get an answer to why this thing is creating my fear when you're overwhelmed by your fear. You have to be in a deeper place of receptivity, of Ruach HaKodesh, of Hasagas, of Eitzat, of all these bechinas. You have to go to the place where you have the capacity to hear, to understand, to receive. And it's there you can get the message. It's so obvious to you that having this stupid thing of being kicked out of a Makom Gavura so many times. When I tell it's like, how many more, why is he going on and on and on? I'm going on and on because I want to know something can be so obvious and we're so blind until we go to the place, the state that we can receive it. So the first answer to the question is, do you know how to get to the place called Emunah? There are two core properties of Emunah. The first is it takes us out of the state of the problem. Isn't Einstein that says you cannot solve a problem, what's that line? From the same state of consciousness that created it, more or less? This is what the Swarma Kadoshim call Moichin de Katnus. The answer is in Gadlus, not in Katnus. It's called Das Begolus. When the problem comes up, I'm afraid, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm jealous, I'm calling my lawyers, I'm screaming at my husband, I'm angry at my kids, right? Your mind constricts. You lose your divine connection. You lose your divine awareness. You're no longer channel. You're disconnected. Your consciousness is in exile. Exile means disconnection from source. You don't know the answer to the question. You don't know the mysteries of reality. That's called Dveikus. That's called Emunah. That's L'mala min hatam v'das. It's higher than logic. It's higher than reasoning. It's higher than understanding. But the supernatural gift of being as Yid is we have the ability to transcend and raise above, out of our katnus, into the gadlus, and in a state that is deeper within you. Here's the key secret. Your neshama knows why it's happening. Your normal ego state, I'm not talking about ego like I'm the king of the world, but normal state of this is who I am, here's my problems, here's my excesses, here's my achievements, here's my failings. That doesn't know supernatural wisdom, but your neshama knows supernatural wisdom. More than that, according to some Sifrei KABBALAH, your neshama is generating the problem. That's why it knows. Your Das Elyon, your Mazel, is actually creating challenges for you. Because it wants to expand the Das Tachton's vessel. It wants to expand your lower consciousness' vessel. So you have to be willing to get out of the problem and out of yourself and out of your fear and doubt and confusion and all these beginners of moichin dekadness to go to a deeper, higher, more profound place from when you can get access to it. If that involves going to a forest, if that involves going to a shul, if that involves opening some Torah and connecting to yourself, connecting to the power of a tzaddik, saying to heal them, it's to get out of yourself, to transcend yourself, to get context to come back. So the first power of Emunah doesn't just mean faith, it's a building mechanism where you're going to reconstruct your consciousness and rebuild the fear, the doubt, the pain, whatever's causing you disconnection. And that's the first thing it does. And you're going to do that by transcending yourself to the place of expanded awareness. And in expanded awareness, I can begin to understand what's happening. And the third amazing element about it, yes, I know I added one, and I'll add 10 more if we have another hour. But the third amazing part is Emunah is moishech. We don't have time to do all the Torahs, because I know you want to do an avoda. This is the law of attraction. I mean, it's literally called the koyach HaMoishech. It's mamish. It's one of the 10 commandments. Because you believe in your heart that you are abandoned, then you generate an energy of being abandoned. And then people abandon you. And then you point to them and say it's your fault. And then you become a victim. And you can't do anything about it. Because you feel abandoned. Or you feel abandoned, so then people will come and abandon you. Then you go, look, he's a big idiot. He's a big idiot. Of course, you're a victim now, so there's nothing you can do about it. Koyach HaMoishech. In the derech, the path that a person wants to go, they are led. You want to believe? You're abandoned? Great, I'll prove that to you, to make you confront the outcome of your beliefs. Because Hashem wants to be matzik. Hashem wants you to confront and awaken the challenge to return it back to the light. What you believe in is what you draw towards you. That's not New Age teachings. That's 1,000 holy texts of our tradition. Yes, the Zohar, Rabbi Nachman, Baal Shem Tov, Chazal. If you go to our website, we have a whole source sheets and all these things. The Ohev Yisrael has an incredible source on Emunah is Moishech, the law of attraction. I have Makors right in front of me now. If I go to them, we start learning them. We're not going to have time to do the meditation at the end. I think that's what you want. No. Still like you, it's okay. When you go into that place and you see that truth and you enter that higher consciousness, that itself is your salvation. When you connect to the great light within you and above you, and the act of realizing that I am not defined by this pain, I am not defined by this lust, I am not defined by this fear. The act of moving up into Dvekus, of experiencing a greater light, a greater truth, a greater meaning, a greater healing, literally floods with so much light and love and connection that in that moment, the clipper, the negative force, is released, melts away. Harim k'denagna masum lifnei Hashem. Tanya says, it melts away like wax. So Emunah is the action to move out of the state where I'm trapped, to move in to deeper awareness, in order to get the clarity, in order to channel down light and energy and revelation, in order to heal that, in order to reconstruct and create myself in the divine image. That's the definition of Emunah. And to do that, you have to get out of the victim mentality and say, I get what Hashem is asking me from me right now. And I have the gift of Emunah. And I'm going to begin this process right now. It's a skill set that you learn. Yes? She's also your daughter? Almost, okay.
So I've said that the second you get the consciousness and the awareness and the clarity, then the thing melts away. Is that like, let's say a person has like anxiety, like I have anxiety, like the minute if I know like why, it will go away. Does that make sense? Like.
There's a short answer and a long answer. The short answer is yes, absolutely. The long answer is no, not so much. I want to be very real with you. What do I mean, yes, absolutely? I've seen it happen to people, and it's a game changer. What I mean, no, not so much, is because it takes a lot of blessing to do the work deeply enough, to have the siyata d'shmaya that when you're right there in the moment, then it comes. And if Hashem wants it to happen, it happens, and I've seen it happen to people, and it's incredible.
So it's not in my...
Malaman, something, the effort, the ishtadlus is in your hands. And the degree of understanding and mastery is in your hands. And I want you to know, young lady, almost a daughter of the Rebbetzin, that your anxiety is a tremendous gift. It's one of those rabbinical things to say that you go, yes, Baruch Hashem for my anxiety. But when you learn from it and learn to release it, then you'll appreciate what it means it's a gift. And you're never given a challenge you don't have the ability to overcome. And that anxiety at its core is screaming to you, I live in a godless reality. That's its line. Do you believe in Hashem? No, you don't. You do believe in Hashem. That's right. Okay, so that afraid is there. That's okay. So that's right. So there's I believe in Hashem. I believe in Hashem. I don't believe in Hashem. So we need to take what is here and we need to bring it down to here. Right? And I'm sure in your heart there's parts of you that for sure believe in Hashem, but there's a part in your stomach that doesn't believe in Hashem. And that's called Emunah Savarim. We have to know with tools of consciousness, with the koyach of Emunah, how to be mamshich that all the way down. And the way that you bring it down is by listening to it and begin to hear what its hashkafa is. And there's more than we can do. And in a Emunah day, 2-hour session, which ends up being usually about 95 minutes, be'erach, minhag Yisrael. But I want you to know that you can and it's within your power. And I don't want you to get anxious about, then why am I so broken, it's not working. And I want you to learn about the property of called hislamda, about constantly allowing yourself to learn. Constantly, what is it and how do I shift it? Can I shift it for a moment? Can I release it? And there's ways to do that. It's not for today, there are ways. We are running out of time. And I want to take questions. I love taking questions. That's usually my favorite thing to do. But we only have 2.5 hours left. You said half an hour, I'm watching the clock. And I want to give you experience a little bit on the inside of a little what we're talking about. Are you open to something a little adventurous? Okay. I don't really have time to tell you what we're going to do together, but I want you to trust me that I've learned a lot of the holy works of our tradition that talk about Dveikus and talk about Tikkun Midas and talk about Tshuva and Emunah in an experiential way. And I'm just going to give you a taste of what this experience can feel like from the inside out. So I'm going to beg you, if everyone can turn off their phones before we begin. And just probably from doing that itself, you'll be in Dveikus. I mean, that's such a revolutionary new release of consciousness. If you can close your eyes for one moment before we begin. And you could consider, as I was telling my story of that thing that always happens to me, and you said, yeah, I got one of those too, and here come the tears, right? What's your one? Hands up if you know what it is. Hands up high, hands up high, hands up high. That didn't take long. Well, have Emunah and get over it. And that concludes Emunah Day 2020. So helpful to be a rabbi and contribute to people's lives in such a meaningful way. Hands up if you don't have one of those. You can't, not conscious of it yet, okay? So I just want you to think about a particular challenge that you have in your life. And you may be aware of it in an external sense or an internal sense. An external sense is, I'm always dealing with that terrible father, and that's been the plague of my existence. An internal sense is, I always have anxiety, I always have something. So you may know it from the external story, through the chitzonius, or through the panemius, through the internal reality of the mensch, of the person. Hands up if you still don't have anything. No? Great, so you're perfect, you can come up and teach the session. That's fine then, you'll go with the flow. So this is what I would like to do, and I'm not here to be a miracle worker, and we're not here to heal everyone in 5 seconds. But Emunah is to be a craftsman, is just to know that there's a craft, is just to know that when I confront challenge and I see a pattern, that I realize I'm being presented darkness to be matchstick myself, because it's calling me to become more conscious, more aware, to find out what is the pattern, to get deeper perspective. From the point of perspective, I can access the Or, the Kedusha, the Chias, the Shefa. I can draw that back down and in. And for some people, that's a radical moment which shifts everything. And for some people, that's just the beginning of sandpaper, just a craftsman, just working slowly, slowly. And as we develop our craft, like any craftsman, we become better, more skillful. Skillful means, as it's called out there in the world. And there's a lot of blessings in this. Who's on the microphone here? Can I walk into the audience? Is that okay? So we're going to do a little experiment together. It's going to take us about 25 minutes. Then people who want to daven mincha will daven mincha, and it'll probably be a pretty special mincha. In the schus of the Devekus and the Kedushin, whatever else you experience. If you're ready, I want everyone just to turn to someone next to them. And I want you to give them a blessing that they and not you should have a breakthrough in this experience. Go. Give it away. The other person should give it back, by the way. That's not just a one-way street. Wonderful. A little achdus expands the kli. If everyone can sit up straight on your chair, uncross your arms and your legs, please put everything out of your hands, including your handbags. That fear that you have to hold onto your handbag is enough to knock you out of the Vegas for sure. You won't be able to get to your cell phone if you're holding onto your handbag. Rabbi has to make parnasa somehow. Okay, sit up on your chair. Against popular opinion, you do not want to be in such a comfortable position you fall asleep. You want to be in an alert position. And you want to also be in a position whereby nothing's crossed over, just so simply there's no pressure that develops. And when you're ready, I want you to close your eyes. And just choose to give yourself permission to relax. And as I always say, try just to close your eyes, even if you can't do it, you're terrible at meditation, etc., whatever stories we have for ourselves. Just commit to keeping your eyes closed the whole time, just to see what we can open up to in general. You're safe. You're in a very safe place with very wonderful, open-hearted people. There's a feeling of beautiful unity here that the teachers, the Rebbitzins have created for you all. It's a day created with tremendous Mesiras Nefesh and love. as nothing more than a gift to every one of you to open up your hearts, your minds, and I'm asking you just to be aware of that. To receive with gratitude the beauty of the day, the wonderful teachings of all the speakers, men and women who are here with you today. I want you to try a little hiskashvis right now. Just be aware of the other souls in this room and their journey. How many heroic stories there are in this room, how much gifts, how many journeys everyone's been on from all corners of the world, literally. Can you feel a little love for the women in this room? A little respect, religious, not religious, different paths within religious. But we're all here with one heart. As one person. On the count of 3, I want you to choose and believe that you are connected as one soul altogether. As an individual, I may be so messed up or broken that I don't feel I can connect to the light. But if we're willing to share his kalalis for his kashvas, our consciousness together, then we become connected to something much greater, with the ability to even receive something much greater than I as an individual may be able to. So I'm going to count to 3. And when I get to 3, I want you to choose and believe that every soul in this space is connected together. There's no big mystical intent you have to have. There's no crazy imagery you have to have in your head. Simple choice, the power of Ratsan. On the count of 3, choose it and believe it. I decided it, it is now true. 1, 2, 3. Amazing. We're going to just choose to strengthen that, to receive from everyone and give to everyone. Receive everyone's light and share with them your light, even strengthen it even more on the count of 3. Choose it and then just absolutely believe it is done and it's true. 1, 2, 3. Amazing. Open up your hands, palms up, just to receive that and to shine that back. Your hands are very powerful things. Through them your consciousness shines out. His pashtas adas, chasadim and gavoras. Consciousness shines out. I want you to right now remember a moment in your life when you felt tremendous love. Ava Rabba, tremendous love. Either receiving love from another or giving love to another. If you don't know one, ask Hashem to remind you one right now. And I want you to watch that scene like a video. Fill it in colors, details, sights, sounds, all your senses. Who was there? What were you wearing, day or night? Where were you standing? Were you sitting? I want you to play that scene all the way through, then I want you to rewind and play it again. Rewind, play again. Find the peak moment of the experience of love. Rewind and play. Go. Wonderful. I want you to think right now of a memory about Kedusha, of holiness, of transcendence, of supernatural experience or energy, of a place, of a person, of a time. Could be Yontif, could be a Kivrei Tzadikim. Could be any experience in your life where you felt transcendent spiritual connection. Where were you? Who were you with? What was your position? Sight, sound, colors, details. Play out the whole story, rewind and play it again. Go. Wonderful. Number 3, I want you to feel a moment in your life of tremendous simcha, tremendous joy. Where were you? Who was there? What was being expressed? Flood your consciousness, your being, head to toe with it. Rewind and play. Colors, sounds, sights, physical senses. Move back to love right now. Ahava Rabba, go back, remember the love. Move to the Kedusha, tremendous holiness channeling through you. At that time, at that place, at this time, at this place, go. Number 3, simcha, joy. As you're doing that, choose to connect to everyone else in the room again, then keep going back to joy, to give and receive. Expand your kalim, go back to the joy. Go to the beginning. Every 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds, move from one to another. Love, ahava, kedusha, simcha. Ahava, kedusha, simcha. As you move through them and cycle through them, I want you to realize that every single one of these moments was a gift min hashamayim from Hashem. He created that moment of feeling love for another so you would have a sense of how much He loves you. See that memory right now and flood it with Hashem's light in Or Gadol. And see that He was using that to give you a taste of His infinite love, which is even more massive and infinitely expansive than that itself. Let go of the simple memory and fall back into the greater love. The second one, Kedusha, when you're ready, that moment was a gift to you, created from the beginning of the world, so that you would have a taste and a moment of infinite holiness. Realizes that this is just a taste, how much greater is Hashem's infinite love, infinite light. And fall back and tune into that right now. Wonderful. The third one, infinite joy. Let the memory of joy fall away and realize that was just a breadcrumb compared to the infinite joy in the world. Think how much collective joy is in this room. It expands beyond its gavul, its boundaries. Love, ahava rabba, kedusha gedola. Simcha, simcha. Ahava, kedusha, simcha. Ahava, kedusha, simcha. I want you to see that there's a ladder in front of you. A 10-rung ladder, the Sulam Yaakov. And the top of that ladder is the name of Hashem, Yud, Hey, and Vav, Hey. You're on the ground. I want you to take slow steps from rung to rung up that ladder. With every step, I want you to count each rung 3 times. And then when you're ready, move up the next step. And every step up the rung, you get closer to simcha, to kedusha, to ava, to light, to bliss, to freedom, alma decheres. You let go of fears, doubts, pains, confusion, bilbulim. Begin that climbing now. Choose to climb up with the rest of the room. If anyone needs your help, lift them up. If you need someone's help, hold out your hand, they'll help you up too. Higher and higher. La'ela, la'ela. Begin climbing now. Fall back into it. Higher and higher, fall back into it. Closer to Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey. See the name, the letters illuminated. Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey. Shvisi Hashem Lenegdi Samid. Allow everything else to fall away and melt away, release away. When you get to the top and not before, just bask in that behemoth, that radiance. Just follow me with this mantra now. Just tune into the idea that I'm saying. Rabbeinu Shel Olam, Master of the world. You created me. You gave life to me. And therefore I choose right now to completely focus and dedicate myself to you and disconnect from everything else in the world. Rabbeinu Shel Olam, Master of the universe, you're creating me literally right now. Every cell, every part of my being is willfully, lovingly being created right now. You're giving life to me. You're literally flooding me with light. See light pouring down. Shefa, Chiyas, Bracha pouring down. And therefore I choose to disconnect from everything else, everything that was, everything that will be. Yes, even my family. In this moment I'm allowed to be connected purely to Hashem. If you're worried about disconnecting from your children, your family, just choose the light of Hashem should shine down unto them. They're being held up by Hashem. And now you can have your space, your kedusha, your connection. I choose to only receive from you, to only be yearning from you, and I choose to release from everything else in the world. Rabbeinu Shel Olam, Creator, Source, infinite consciousness that generates willfully all of reality. You are literally creating every dimension of my being right now. You are flooding light and chiyas and energy into my being right now. And I give you all my attention, all my focus. And I let go of everything else. If you're comfortable, invite any tzaddik or tzaddikus, Avram, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, Just be aware of skosavas, that they should be with us. Invite them into the space. Step into theirs. I'm giving everyone 3 minutes. In this place of cloudy of light, I want you to maintain it. If you maintain it through remembering love, through maintaining holiness, then use that tool. If you like to keep climbing up the ladder, remembering the divine Hashem's name, then use that tool. If you like to strengthen the energy of the room by giving and receiving, use that tool. If there's a holy pasuk that you like to say the pasuk and see it illuminated with light. If you like his kashrus, his tzaddikim, or particular tzaddik, throw them in. Ask them to help hold you up. And I want you to bring up from your heart this challenge that you face. And I want you to ask Hashem to illuminate it for you. Teach me, because I know you're teaching me. Open me, because I know you're opening me. What is this gift? How can I leverage this challenge to take one step closer to you? A trick to making this work is don't see the challenge as the ultimate darkness. Smile at the challenge. Smile at the fear. See it for what it is, a kiss from Hashem. Can you thank Hashem for it? Be real. And then say, Hineni, here I am. And ask Hashem in the skos of the Tzadikei Emes to give you one step of clarity. If you feel a particular part of the body which is strong with that pain, you may want to hover your hands over it and channel down from Hashem's light into that place. This is not called energy healing. This has been used for thousands of years in our tradition. Don't think about it. We don't know how to heal ourselves. Invite Hashem. He knows how to heal us. Invite the Shekhinah. She knows how to heal me. I want you to invite the Shekhinah into this room now to be amongst these holy women. Mamish today, Emunah is the name of the Shekhinah. It's a day of Shekhinah. Invite her into this space right now to heal, to bless. Ask Hashem, dialogue. You'll receive an answer. Ask for follow-up. Giving you 3 minutes to do this holy work now. Choose that the light will increase within you, that Hashem will double and triple the light on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Choose and believe He can double it again. More than you want it, He's so happy to pour it down upon you. You don't have to beg Him. You just have to choose to receive it. 1, 2, 3. Yud Kamet, Hey Kamet, Kamet, Hey Kamet. Yud Kamet, Hey Kamet, Vav Kamet, and Hey Kamet. Yud Pasach, Hey Pasach, Vav Pasach, Hey Pasach. Yud Pasach, Hey Pasach, Vav Pasach, Hey Pasach. Yud Seve, Hate Seve, Vav Seve, Hate Seve. Yud Seve, Hate Seve, Vav Seve, Hate Seve. Yud Segel, Hey Segel, Vav Segel, and Hate Segel. Yud Segel, Hate Segel, Vav Segel, Hate Segel. Take a moment to pray that everyone else in the room should receive light and blessing, whether you can or can't. If your hands are pointed at you, point your palms to everyone else in the room. Ask Hashem to be a channel for everyone else's healing. Yud Shva, Hey Shva, Vav Shva, Hey Shva. Yud Shva, Hey Shva, Vav Shva, Hey Shva. Yud Shuk, Hey Shuk, Vav Shuk, Hey Shuk. Yud Shuk, Hey Shuk, Vav Shuk, Hey Shuk. Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey. Take 30 more seconds for any personal prayer. Pray into the future. See a clear vision of you healed, of you releasing this challenge. With gratitude, feeling I've overcome it, I've learned the lesson. I totally realize that the challenge itself was light. Flood that image with light and use that image as you cycle through love and holiness and joy, and see the elevation of the challenge with success and light. Then go love, holiness, and joy. Do that right now. Hold in mind that you're doing that for the rest of the room as well. Last stage, do that now. I'm going to count back down from 10 to 1 to come down the ladder. But you're not just coming back to your bodies, you're bringing that light into your bodies. You're bringing that change into your bodies. You're bringing that clarity into your bodies, into your families, into this room, into your Makam Kavua, into your Dalit Amos. You're bringing all the teachings of this day, all the holy teachers you've heard, all the wisdom, all the holiness, all the insights. You're choosing it to come down, to be embodied. You're rebuilding and reconstructing your doubts, your fears into Chochmah, Bina, and Das of Kedusha. You're reconstructing your heart with the Emunah of this day to love Hashem, His people and His land, to feel awe before holiness, balance and harmony, to embody that and to express that. Choose it. Know that it is. And it's yours. This is an act of Emunah. This day is an act of Emunah. You've absorbed the light. You've held it up. You're reconstructing your beliefs and yourself based on it. This holy group of women are turning darkness to light right now. Now your job is to step out into the world and shine it out. God knows we need it. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lasois nachas v'ruch, l'borei baruch Shemayim. I'm out of time now, so I have to go. Really, I just want to hear everybody's story. Hands up if that was an interesting experience for you. Hands up if that was a beautiful experience for you. Okay, hands up if that was some kind of supernatural experience for you. Give yourself a round of applause, because it's... In summary, Emunah is not something you have. It's a state that you have to go to. It's to step out of the small-mindedness of the challenge into a greater perception, to get the clarity, to get the insight. Hands up if you got some clarity or insight or download to what was happening. Hands up high. That's pretty awesome. Your hand went up. That makes me happy. Don't want to put it on. And hands up if you were able to kind of feel some shift come into your beliefs or your body, your emotions through that. Hands up high. Great. You know what you just did then? That's Emunah. We fulfilled the Emunah Day mission. Mincha, thank you for your time.